Last 10 minutes or so, I just want to talk about composing in general, maybe ask a couple of more funnier questions maybe than we've talked more serious so far. What is the most unusual place you've heard one of your compositions? Anybody?
Just yesterday, the singer that I work with just sent me a video of a song of ours playing in a supermarket in Tokyo. That's pretty random.
Ramin, I bet you've heard your score, your theme song from Game of Thrones in just about every possible format.
Yeah, there have been some great ones. I mean, there's I can think there's a cat version, I think, on YouTube of meowing the theme, and one very interesting one is actually a digital hard drive one, which I have no idea how they did, but it literally goes. Brr, 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 brr. I thought that was pretty impressive. I didn't know they had different pitches for hard drives, but yeah.
Anybody else? You've got to have heard at least one song in an elevator.
Yes, I've heard songs in elevators. It's fun for me to go out and hear remixes of songs. The song from the other two, My Brother's Gay, believe it or not, gets played in gay clubs, and that's very fun to go and experience because we did for that episode a Latin remix, a dance remix. Also, we did like 4 or 5 different remixes, and so there was a night where they played a few of them, which was very funny.
Did you have an answer on that?
I guess when I was little, I used to take the kids trick or treating. Sometimes you'd hear the people would play the Scream soundtrack on Halloween, but nothing as interesting as this guy's.
Because we talked about your theme song, I was wanting to ask all 4 of you a favorite. Don't mention Ramin. A favorite theme song from TV history. While you're thinking, I'll tell you maybe my favorite instrumental at least is Mission Impossible. That of course has been used in the movies all these years too, but it's just so complex. But it tells you everything you need to know that it's an action spy series. Even if you didn't know that, you kind of figure that out. So is there a favorite TV theme song from all these years? You're working now on the Twilight Zone reboot. So you've had to listen to that. That's one of the great ones of all time.
Definitely. I was going to say All in the Family, but
Yeah?
but Twilight Zone is definitely iconic. Yeah.
Ramin?
Magnum is when it comes
Magnum
to
PI?
Magnum, yeah.
Mike Post was so underrated. He did Hill Street Blues, L.A. Law, so many A-Team, so many theme songs of the 70s and 80s. I think he did Rockford Files, which is another great one.
I think for me, I mean, when you love a show and you watch it so much as like the shows that I love, I watch them every single day. So when you hear the theme song, it I guess immediately like makes you happy. But the Family Guy theme song is one that even if I hear it in the background or if I'm at the gym and hear it or whatever, I just love it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. Maybe for similar reasons, like the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme song. That's pretty great.
That's another great one. And we talked about Jerry Goldsmith with you, so we'll come back to you in just a second. I want each of you name a favorite film composer that you've really enjoyed their work over the years, and maybe single out a piece. And also talk about, because we have so many composers in the audience today, so many music fans, what about them intrigues you? What about them makes their work to you special?
I mean, for me, John Williams, just because of the era that I grew up in and how my childhood was very much like soundtracked by his scores. So, and just the moments, the nights going to the Hollywood Bowl and being able to experience, your childhood again with friends. That is, but I think that's probably very a songwriter answer who one of my favorite composers is. But yeah, I just grew up watching all of those films, and they're very special to me.
You would all be lucky enough to have 51 Oscar nominations at the end of your career like he's had. Chris?
I definitely would have said John Williams, but other than that, I guess Bernard Herrmann. Yeah, I think especially because like being a jazz musician, hearing the type of harmonies that he uses and hearing those in an orchestra is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Any particular movie of his that?
Vertigo is probably by far my favorite.
Okay, Ramin.
Of course, John Williams too, but to mention one other would be Elmer Bernstein. The Magnificent Seven is probably the movie of why I became a film composer. When I saw that film, and those melodies, because you turn the film off and those melodies still stick with you, and that's when I realized the power of film music, of storytelling and having memorable themes.
Other than Jerry Goldsmith, you got one?
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason I went into film scoring, I think, is because of Morricone. And I probably Once Upon a Time in the West was like the most influential film to me. And I think the thing that I loved about what he did, Jerry did it too, but he would take sounds that were not necessarily orchestral or meant to even be musical and make them into musical things. And that's something that always appealed to me, how he manipulated stuff and his great sense of melody. So,
You know, one of his that doesn't get the recognition that I just think is so wonderful is The Untouchables.
Oh.
It's so complex and so not what you're expecting when you first watch that movie. That I love that particular theme.
It's amazing, yeah.
As we wrap up, one last question for all of you. We have some younger people in the audience that are I know in school and college for composing. People that will watch this on YouTube and on our homepage. What is something you wish you had known when you got started that you know now?
I think that it's unfortunately not mostly about the music. I don't know. It seems like being a film composer is about so many other skills than just musical skills. And I wish it was more about the music, at least. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still not quite sure what to say. I mean, the interesting thing, looking back for me, I think I was so naive about, I mean, that goes part to what Marco was saying. I knew so little about the business. I knew nothing, basically. So I just kind of walked into this, and I just believed in hard work, and so that's what I still do now. So I'm not sure if there's any advice I can, or something I can say that is different now than it was when I started out. I'm not sure.
You're just going to throw them to the wolves, so to speak,
and maybe that's. I guess that's my point,
Just
because I
learn.
think if I look back, maybe I would have even picked a different job, because it's so scary actually to go into the business. I think that's what I'm saying. Is I think I knew nothing, and maybe that was a good thing, because I just walked right into it and just said, "Here I am," and that's what I want to do. So I think maybe that's still the best way to do it. Just stay at it and work hard.
Leland?
I would say, for me, working within the songwriting community is extremely competitive, but it's also very community oriented. So I would say I know, working as a songwriter for pop and country, I work with a few people every day. So I work with a producer every day, or an artist, or another songwriter. But even if you are a composer and you're working alone a lot, just surround yourself with people that are at the same place as you. I spent a lot of time trying to write up, meaning like trying to write with the biggest songwriter I could find, or the most successful person I could find, when I finally just relaxed and started working with the people that were just as driven, but just around me, and coming up together, as opposed to trying to skip a few steps. Yeah.
Okay, Chris?
I guess like to not take things personally. That's definitely something I've learned a lot recently. I think that it's something that I felt like I never really did, but you're in this position where you're constantly putting yourself in a vulnerable state, and then presenting music that you've written from this vulnerable place, and then like somebody listens to it for 30 seconds and is like, nah, that's not it. And it's like, oh wait, that was my heart. So I guess just like learning to roll with that, and to continue to just try to not take those things. It's like, I guess it's like being in love, like you don't, anytime you have heartbreak, you don't then decide that you never love again. But I think it's kind of similar with writing music. Like if you write something and then people tell you it sucks, just to keep going and to not think anything of it. Yeah.
And these gentlemen have just been so gracious to give us their time tonight. So if you're Emmy voters here or watching on video, when they see us, the other two, Game of Thrones, Free Solo, that's what you want to vote for this year. And thank you all for coming tonight.